And welcome back, everyone, to the Quirk Creation series. This one comes to us from user, I think it was SPU or SU or PU, something like that, and then there's a lot of numbers there. I've been noticing a lot of the user handles lately, like user SP this, user RK this, K7. Like, I have no problem with that name. It just makes it a little bit difficult to remember who that is without having the name directly in front of me. Other names I've known for so long that I'm like Moonstar is one I know off the top of my head. Alex Allen, Samantha Blake, so forth and so on. I can remember those names pretty good, but user insert there, I can use that. There's nothing wrong with that, but just saying if you want your, I might suggest using a slightly more recognizable handle is all in the future. But if you don't, that's fine. I'm just a suggestion. But this person's been actually clamoring's not the right word. You've been asking for this. By the way, I have a little bit of a throat cold. My throat's a little sore because it's post-nasal drip and dry air the last couple of days. So if I sound a little off, that's why. But this person's been kind of asking for Ash Ketchum for a little bit. Now, understanding that, I would get to that. Don't worry. Here's the thing, and I always got to reiterate this point. Constantly asking for your request is not going to make your request come any faster. I just when I saw a comment said, why doesn't this guy respond to any comments? Because I can't respond to every single comment. Hypothetically, I could, but I'd be spending half my time just responding to comments, and I can't do that. Most YouTubers don't do that. It's unrealistic to expect that. So anyway, yeah. But yeah, just requesting constantly is not going to make your requests come any faster. But they're all going to come eventually. So anyway, Ash Ketchum. Ash, it was, and I was thinking about this last night because I knew I was going to do this today, this morning, before I went to work. And then I'm going to do my what if later tonight. That way, again, yesterday got it away from me. Usually the what ifs yesterday. But I just ultimately couldn't get around to it. So yeah, it's just gonna be out today. But again, I'm almost 3 minutes in. I barely talked about this. Ash was an interesting case. I say that a lot about these characters, but Ash is an interesting case because there's no inherent thing about him that would translate to a quirk ability. He's a Pokemon trainer. He became the world top champion of the world. But how does that really translate to a team? So I thought on that, I decided to think, how would I do maybe quirks for other characters in Pokemon? Like gym leaders or Elite Four members or other champions. And that in my head came out very simply to, well, if they're a type specialist, give them some sort of quirk that translates to the type they use. Blaine, for example, would have some sort of fire-based quirk. Erica would have some sort of grass-based quirk. Faulkner would have some sort of electric-based quirk, so forth and so on. So that idea came to mind. The problem is, Ash is not a type specialist. He's always had a full team. But then I thought about the whole idea of the series as a whole. Gotta catch them all. Well, what if A, that's the name of his quirk, and B, that is kind of what his quirk does? What if his quirk basically takes whatever he touches and converts it into a power or changes his physical form to match? What do I mean by this? Whatever his skin makes contact with, his body automatically reacts to and gains the properties of that item. Now, it only gains as long as he's remaining in contact with whatever he's touching, he can remain in that form indefinitely. That would already be an inherent weakness of his quirk. If he's not touching it, it'd be like Monama's copy quirk. He's only got like 5, maybe 10 minutes with that ability. And if he touches something else, it's immediately going to just shift his ability over. Now, granted, now reset the amount of time he has there, but that I think that'd be an extreme limitation. And if you were to say touch someone's skin, he would just go back to being like regular human. So And concepts of how this quirk would work in like a combat scenario, because this quirk could be really multi-purpose. If he somehow got blasted by water, he would gain like a watery form. If he got hit by lightning or fire, he wouldn't necessarily gain a lightning form, but he would gain a very his whole body temperature would heat up, wrapped in flame. His quirk would he'd already have lightning based abilities. I think he would probably go into battles barefoot, so he'd be touching the cement, like the whatever the ground is underneath him. He'd have that composition of body. The problem also with his quirk is his body would not gain any real extra resilience on top of whatever he has been turned into. For example, if he's touching tar, like pavement, his body would be like tar pavement. Be pretty durable, but he's not going to be able to stand up to like things like steel or like superheated material. It would damage his body. He wouldn't be any more resistant than material he's made of. If he and should note, an awakened version of Quirk would basically turn his body into the material straight out. So he would have a pure body of flame, pure body of lightning, whatever you're thinking of. But they would still have the weakness that he would have there. Flame, unless he could turn the flame on super hot, he'd have extreme weakness to water. If he could maybe get his arm doused out. Now, luckily, if he's getting a limb doused out in a malleable state, he would be able to grow it back. However, another example of problems he would face is it's not an instantaneous reaction. It would take a couple seconds to work, and those couple seconds would be more than enough, I think, to do lasting damage. For example, someone comes out with a sword to cut his arm off, his body's not going to react in time to that. Now, if he's already durable enough, say, like in the asphalt tar form, and he blocks the blade, well, then he's just going to turn into the metal that the blade makes and be a lot more durable. It would be, excuse me, it'd be an escalation type ability. I actually see Kevin 11 having a very similar quirk to this. His would be a little bit different, though, as he would probably be able to choose what he could absorb. By the way, I'll do Kevin 11, but I'm pretty much telling you what his quirk is right now. Yeah, because Kevin 11 from Ben 10 has an absorption-based ability, but he could choose what he absorbs. So I think that'd be the key difference between him and Ash. You could even make an argument they're from the same family. Ash would be limited to what's around him, and have to be careful not to be hit by something, a stray object. I would imagine that one of the now what's his quirk? What's his hero name? Ash Ketchum All. I don't know, but Gotta Catch 'em All would be the name of his quirk. That's not necessarily the best name for a quirk like this, but it does work in context. And if you can think of a better name, let me know. I could see his hero costume having basically retractable shoes, but the problem is Ash theoretically would have to be walking around naked for this quirk to. I'll say this: maybe the quirk doesn't work on certain fabrics. Maybe there's that, because that would be a problem. That would be a problem. Him wearing clothing would be a problem. But maybe they did find certain materials his body just doesn't adapt to. That is possible. The idea, though, ultimately comes from the idea that whatever represents the full type spectrum of Pokemon in My Hero is what Ash should be focused. Like he could turn into ice by absorbing ice. He could turn into lightning by electricity. Ground, rock. And then there's like grass. If he touched a tree, he could theoretically turn into a tree. You know what? That might be the good limitation to actually stick this on, is he can't do it with organics. So maybe he could not turn back into a human if he touched a human. So he can't do it on organic objects. So trees, his clothing is made of organic fibers, unless it's a synthetic thing. Even rubber is technically an organic compound. It's made in nature. But it just doesn't break down, really. So, yeah, I don't know. What would you do for Ash's quirk? This, I think, would be a cool quirk for anyone, really. But let me know in the comments below what you'd do. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.